my activism is now being persecuted. And I don't agree with that at all. And it's a terrifying situation for another country as powerful and as complicated as the United States to come into my country and say you're not allowed to be a political activist and you're not allowed to save your life with medical marijuana.
There's so many seed sellers throughout the U.S. and other parts of the world that they could have picked on, and they aren't doing things about some of them in their own country. They've picked on one who's been particularly an advocate of legalization and used the money he made, apparently, to fund all of these things towards legalization.
And also paid taxes, I understand.
And paid taxes on it. And so, you know, he's done it in this sort of altruistic way, and they've hit him, and the DEA press release makes it clear, as part of an attack on the legalization movement. And so there's a political aspect to this whole thing.
I was paralyzed in a car accident 3 years ago it was drinking and driving. This was actually my first time dealing with Mark Emery Seeds direct, and he had an offer for anybody that had the medical exemptee cards. If they could send a valid copy of them to Emery Direct Seeds, then he would send a free test pack of seeds out to these people with 40 different seeds. So I applied for that, and it only took about 2-3 weeks, and I sent some seeds. And I received those, and then it would have been about a week and a half later, I received an envelope that looked the same as what came from Mark Emery's, but then it had this blue letter in there asking for $100 more for my order, and I was suspicious just because my order was a free order, and I wasn't to pay any money for that.
Well, these letters started showing up in people's mailboxes throughout North America from this place in North Vancouver, and on a Canadian stamp, and inside they would have this notice that would tell people to send money, and we'll send you more seeds, and then it tells people to go to Western Union and transfer $100 on a donation to some alleged friends of mine, and then to use a password, right, like swap, and send it to Ian Nelson in Vancouver, which is like a setup name for the Vancouver police or a police agency, probably DEA. And then you're supposed to send an email to medmarijuanaseeds@yahoo.ca with the following: a confirmation of your order. So that's total self-incrimination. You're agreeing that you not only ordered seeds before, but you want more of them now. You've given them a money control number, so that's the cash to seal the deal. The name used as sender, which has to be your ID when you go to Money Mart or Walmart or Western Union, and the amount transferred. So they're literally giving you instructions to totally self-incriminate you for a bust that will happen at your home, and you know, even trying to pretend it's Mark Emery Direct, right? And of course the DEA and the Canadian police are allowed to lie, they're allowed to scam. It's all something that's legally within the jurisdiction. The police can commit any kind of crime in order to entrap people.
I just think it's wrong. It's who's controlling our country, the U.S. or Canada? He's helping people. I don't know what else to say. He's out there helping a lot of medicinal people, and now I don't know where I'm going to turn to buy my next batch of seeds.
There was a man who called us from Colorado who said, listen, I have no legs, and I've been ordering your seeds, and I got this thing in the mail too. So, you know, you're dealing with a lot of our medical patients who are also receiving this as well. And the last thing they need is anxiety in their lives, right? To think that a bus might be coming at any moment, you know, because they ordered seeds, and now you're sending to people whose lives are probably hasten their demise by giving them a terrible shot of anxiety.
And this will be used for somebody's medicine?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Some form of medicine or another.
I mean, it's just ridiculous that the States has any impact here in Canada. We're a sovereign nation. What the hell are they doing here? And I'm really upset with our government and the fact that nobody's actually said anything about it.
See, without any change in Canadian law, without any change by a Canadian politician, without anything happening with a Canadian judge, it's totally changed the face of Vancouver and British Columbia. It's a lot less cool, it's a lot less beautiful, it's a lot less relaxed than it once was. We've literally had American values not so much imported into British Columbia, we've had American drug war values dumped, forced into Canada, and literally wedged into Canada by a raid on me. It's put fear and panic on anybody who grows marijuana, anybody who sells marijuana, that somehow if you sell it to an American, he goes over the border, next thing you know, you can be part of an unwitting conspiracy and subject to extradition. And of course the Americans will do this anywhere in the world. If they can demonstrate that a person like me who never went to the United States can be taken out of Canada, then a person can be taken out of Jamaica, taken out of Colombia, taken out of Venezuela, taken out of New Zealand, taken out of Australia, and brought to an American court. You know, and I'm a Canadian citizen. The Magna Carta, English common law, assures me that I'll be judged by a jury of my peers under Canadian law, and I'll see none of this. An extradition hearing is not a trial. It's not for the jury. It's just a hearing. The jury will be American, the law will be American, the judge will be American, none of which should possibly apply to me. If the Canadian government the Attorney General wants to charge me for selling seeds, they could easily do that under their own initiative.
My concern is to keep this story public and to show as many people the horrible aspects of prohibition in our society and get them to understand this issue a little more and how it does really affect them and other people. Now, if we're allowed to be extradited, the ramifications of this are wide-reaching against Canadians. You know, there's nothing to stop the U.S. going, yeah, we just don't like you and what you're doing at all, pluck. What the fuck? Now, we got to stand up against these guys, and we got to do it through our trade wars, too. Like, we cannot let these people rape us of our natural resources. They're certainly going to try. We know that, and they're doing it now. So I like to think that this is all combining at the same time to show the world what these assholes are up to, and that perhaps the good men and women of Canada can rise up and go, take off, eh?
I believe that people will start to stand up as time goes on. Right now it's too fresh. Everybody needs to sit down and look at what the real situation is and how this affects our Canadian sovereignty. I think that the Canadian public as well as our government is kind of in shock, and it's going to take them some time to understand what the ramifications of all this is. And in time, and I think in the next few weeks, we will start to see everybody come out of the closet and stand beside us in this fight for our sovereignty.
I will be guided in my work by one overarching principle: the pursuit of justice. And within that, the promotion and protection of equality, not only, though it is certainly that, as a foundational principle within the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, but equality as an organizing principle for the building of a just society, and the promotion and protection of human dignity, for the building of a society that is not only just, but compassionate and humane.
I wonder, however, how you could reconcile two of your recent activities and decisions with those ideals, and in particular, I'm referring to your recent decision to allow U.S. authorities to begin extradition proceedings against local political activists Mark Emery, Michelle Rainey, and Greg Williams, who are being targeted for life prison terms in the United States in what is clearly a politically, and admittedly, I might add, a politically motivated prosecution.
The only question is because we have a mutual legal assistance treaty between Canada and the U.S., whereby we can ask the Americans, or they can ask us, with respect to the enforcement of an offense that is an offense here, or that might be an offense there. I can make reference to the principles and proceedings that relate to extradition, regardless of who is involved. These things are multi-layered processes. That's why I can't comment on any particular process just before the courts in one form or another.
How does it advance our common struggle against injustice to sign a surrender order turning over Renee Bourget, a mother of a young Canadian boy, wife of a Canadian, for life imprisonment, potential life imprisonment, for simply watering some plants in a medical marijuana user's garden in California 10 years ago?
In matters that are before the courts in respect of extradition, I am not permitted, as a matter of law, to comment on the proceedings lest it prejudice the matters before the courts.